XX, double X, kiss kiss. However you'd like to refer to the title, this is an anthology horror film, and anthology horror films for me go back a long way. We're talking back to Creepshow and Tales from the Crypt in the 70s and 80s. Do you guys and girls remember those? They were fucking amazing. That is pretty much what got me into horror in the first place. I'll never forget The Crypt Keeper. Creepshow was also incredible. Really loved those short stories. Now, having said that, anthologies are very hit or miss, especially when it comes to the horror genre. There have been some fantastic ones, and there have been some really shitty ones in between Tales from the Crypt, and what we have now is the VHS series, which was like one of my favourite ever anthology horror films. So back in the days, you had Creepshow, Tales from the Crypt. Trick or Treat was a really good one. I can't remember what year that came out exactly. I'll probably do a separate review coming up in October. I'm really going to talk a lot about horror movies in October and really actually introduce you guys and gals to all of the films that I grew up with and all of the horror films that I really hold sacred to myself. I'm going to share all that shit with you. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait till October. And that, of course, will be Halloween month. Aside from Trick or Treat, the VHS films, I loved absolutely all three of them. Part 2 in particular was probably the best. But having said that, each movie had weak segments and really strong segments, so I can't really pick, a favourite out of the three, but all three films were amazing. If you guys haven't seen them, Part 1, Part 2 and VHS Viral, go watch them now. They're incredible. And now we have XX, which is directed by all females. We have 4 segments, and we're going to start with number 1, called The Box. The Box is the standout segment. This is probably my favourite in the whole film, and I thought, God damn it, if we're starting this strong, this film is going to be absolutely incredible. It's going to knock my socks off. The Box is about a young family. You've got a man and his wife traveling on a train with their young son and daughter. The son spots a stranger carrying a box, a present for somebody, and he asks the stranger what's in the box. The stranger shows him what's in the box. We never see what's in the box, but it's changed this little boy forever. From that point on, the boy refuses to eat food. At first, the parents dismiss it as, he might be coming down with something or whatever. The second day, he must be sick. Do you want to take a day off school? The third day gets a bit strange. The fourth day, fifth day, he's gone a whole week without eating a thing. And the father starts getting really frustrated and having some temper tantrums, pretty much telling him he's got to eat. Doctors can't figure out what's wrong with him. Nobody knows what's happening with this boy, just refuses to eat. So one night, the boy is going to bed and the sister is with him in his room. And we catch a glimpse of him whispering something to her, and immediately you see her demeanor change. The mother walks in and says, "What are you two whispering about?" And you can tell that there's something different about the daughter. She just stares at the mother with this blank expression and says nothing. But from that point on, she refuses to eat, the young girl. So whatever the boy whispered to the young girl, the daughter, passed on this strange condition to not want to eat a thing, just have no appetite. And it's not long after that the boy whispers something to the father, and the same pattern follows. He refuses to eat. And it really grips your interest from the very start. You really want to know what the fuck is going on. The problem is, I'm not going to say any more because it'll ruin, this segment for you all. I want to keep this spoiler free, but the problem is, we don't get any closure. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I like closure. I don't like shit being left out in the open. We don't find out what's in the box, and we don't really find out why they're refusing to eat or how this condition is passed on. It leaves it up to the viewer, and I fucking hate that. In a way, I can understand why it's left that way, but I would have liked a bit more explanation. And pretty much all of these segments kind of end in a mysterious kind of way, leaving a lot to the interpretation of the viewer. The second segment, much weaker, but a good segment. And the only problem I have with this segment is it's not horror. I don't give a shit what anyone says. This isn't horror. This is, I don't know, a drama at best. I wouldn't even call it a fucking thriller. But it stars Melanie Lynskey, who a lot of you will know as the actress that played Rose in the 2.5 Men comedy series, and she's superb in this. Really, really good. And it's basically about her who finds her husband dead. He's just sitting in his chair, dead. We don't really know how. We assume that it's suicide or possibly a heart attack or something like that. Either way, he's dead, and she comes across all these situations where she's hiding and covering up the fact that he's dead from her daughter, from her husband's secretary, from the neighbor. Like, all these situations come up. She's planning her daughter's birthday party at the house, and things are happening, and she keeps hiding the fact that the husband's dead. That's pretty much it. The ending is ultra disappointing. I wasn't impressed. This was a weak, shitty segment, if you ask me. The third segment, Don't Fall, is about a young group of friends going out camping. They find some strange paintings on a stone, and one of the girls cuts her hand, and you don't really know where they're going to go with this, but during the evening, one of the girls seems to be having a nightmare and ends up near this stone, and she's tossing and turning, and she's somehow fallen asleep at this stone. We don't know how, and then ends up transforming into a creature. And from then on, she goes back to the camp where her friends are camping and starts attacking them. And that's pretty much it about this one. The effects were pretty shitty. The story has been done before, and it's been done a hell of a lot better before. This is probably the weakest segment, if you ask me. It's crappy from start to finish. It finishes off even worse. Didn't like this one whatsoever. This was the worst one. Final segment, number 4, the fourth one. Her Only Living Son, it's called. And this is about a lady who is bringing up her son, and her son's getting older now. He's a teenager, and weird things keep happening. Like, she seems afraid of her son, like she's hiding something, and there's flashbacks of him as a child doing some weird shit. But as a teenager, I didn't think there was anything that odd about him until you keep watching. Things do get sort of stranger and stranger, and he behaves very, very oddly, and it's a mystery as to who his father is. We never know who his father is exactly, and obviously his mother and father are definitely separated, but we don't exactly find out about the history of the father or much about the past at all. And as the segment progresses, the young man undergoes some strange changes, and he's obviously not quite human. You know, that's probably the most I can say without spoiling this entire segment. But at the end, we find out exactly who his father is, or, well, the viewer is kind of tipped off as to who the father could be, even though it's never exactly confirmed. But this was definitely the second best. It could have been a lot better, I thought. You know, overall, the anthology horror film seemed like it was on a tight budget. Like, there was really not much production value at all, but doesn't always need a big budget, a big blockbuster budget to be a good film. The first segment, The Box, definitely the standout. The last one is definitely the second best, and really up there close to The Box. It's almost as good, but probably not just. And then you've got The Birthday Party, which isn't a horror at all, but it is quite clever, and it's not boring to watch. It was not bad, is the best I can say about that. And Don't Fall was pretty shit. You know, I really can't find anything positive to say about Don't Fall. So overall, 4 segments. You've got 2 good ones and 1 shitty one and 1 that's kind of average. So you can kind of say 2 weak segments, 2 strong segments. If we have to rate the entire anthology film out of 13, I'll have to give this a 7, which is a little bit more than half of 13. The reason it's getting a 7 is because in between the segments, which we have 2 really good ones and 2 weak ones, there's some really good sequences with these dolls and the tripped out shit that they do. I thought that, you know, the transition in between the segments was really, really good. You guys will definitely like it. It's nice and creepy. So for that, I'll give it an extra point. Instead of a 6, I'll give it a 7. Definitely worth a watch. I'll be interested to know what you guys think of the segments yourselves. You know, I think first and last were definitely the strongest. Middle 2 were pretty shit. But you boys and girls, let me know what you think.